Well, welcome everybody to today's pre-launch day of the 2017 Piano Pivot. So very, very excited to have you all here today. And as we have people log in, I'm really looking forward to seeing all the different people from the different parts of the world. So when you come in the call, if you're live, please state your name, let us know where you're from. And it'd be cool to know if you're an InnerCircle member too, because I know there's quite a few signed up for this challenge as well. So my name is Tim Topham. If you haven't met me before, my thing is supporting piano teachers around the world to be a little bit more creative in what they're doing, and also to help grow their businesses with my resources, my blog, and also my weekly creative piano teaching podcast. So that's what I'm all about, and I'm totally happy that we've got over 600 people joining the Pivot, and we're going to hopefully make some great change in your studio for next year. Now, before I introduce my co-host, the fabulous Nicola Canton, I did want to tell you a really funny story just really quickly, because today's actually the first day of summer in Australia here, and not only have I got a cold, it has been raining. We've had as much rain in the whole summer we would normally have in a whole summer in about 2 days. So it's really miserable down here. And if I have to cough or anything like that, please excuse me. I'll try and mute my microphone before I do that. Now, I think I'll hand over to my fantastic host, Nicola. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Nicola Canton. Most of you know me in this group because I'm the moderator of this group. And you may also know me from colourfulkeys.ie, my blog, and Vibrant Music Teaching. So the Piano Pivot today, what I wanted to start with is just giving you a rundown of how this is all going to work, because, you know, people have heard bits and pieces here and there. So I just want to make sure everyone knows the system that we have in place. So there are two main elements to this. The first one is that we're doing Facebook Lives like this one right now. We're doing those every day at this time. So if you can see the time stamp right now on this video, that's when this is for you. That'll be in your time zone. So that's the easiest thing to do. This is 9 p.m. GMT. I'm in Dublin, so that's GMT. It's 8 a.m. for Tim. It's 4 p.m. in New York, and I'm not going to go into all the time zones. There is a graphic in the group. So if you are in the group itself and you look in the right-hand sidebar, you should see a link to it because it's in the recent file. So you should see it right there. There's a PDF. That'll have more time zones on it, and it's super clear, and will give you the rundown of everything that's happening in the Pivot. The other key thing that you need to do is you need to go on over to pianopivot.com to download the playbook. So if you don't have that, this is what it looks like.
Yeah. How good is this? And I got to say, everyone, this is Nicola's amazing handiwork, not mine. I wish I could say that this was mine. This is Nicola. She's amazing.
It's in my hands. But yeah, if you don't have that, I've seen some eager beavers have been printing it out and have it ready, and they're ready to go. If you don't have it ready, no worries, just go grab it right now, pianopivot.com, and Tim will email it to you, and you can download it and print it at home. So that's what we're working through. So those are the main two things. We've got the Facebook Lives every day at this time, and then the playbook, that's what we're working through. The other thing I wanted to say is that you should feel free to jump in and start your own discussions about anything that comes up during the Pivot. So anything as you're working through the playbook, anything, any ideas, any questions, we'd be happy to help you. If you're new to this group, you won't know us yet, but we're extremely supportive and friendly and positive. So feel free to start your own discussion about anything to do with the Piano Pivot in the group at any time. While we're talking about this, I also want to mention that this is not just for piano teachers, despite it being called the Piano Pivot. It's actually very applicable to all types of music teachers, instrumental and vocal teachers alike. Tim and I are both piano teachers, so that's why it's called this, but like, we're not really going to reference the piano, like hardly at all. And if we do, it'll just be incidental, and you can insert your instrument where we've said piano and it'll work just fine. So no matter what you're teaching, and if you have friends that are teaching other instruments, feel free to invite them to come along. All they need to do is apply to be a member, and we'll let them in, and they can join in on the fun. So that's how it's all going to work. And the reason we started this Pivot, which we mentioned a little bit in the sort of preview that we did, mostly to test and fix internet connections, is that we both get questions and comments from teachers all the time saying how overwhelmed they are about all the stuff out there. And in a way, we're part of the problem because we're both bloggers, we're both putting stuff out there. Tim has a podcast, I have the blog, you know, and we're both putting all this stuff out there. And then teachers are saying that it's just too much and they don't know where to start. So that's part of the reason that we decided to do this. Another thing this is inspired by is actually one of the things that we do inside the Inner Circle in Tim Topham's community, which is called the 4-week challenge. And that's something we do in there where members pick out specific goals under varied headings, keeping a balance between work and business and teaching and life in general. And they try to achieve those in 4 weeks. And the great thing about that has been that they're actually really, really actionable goals, and we help them set specific goals that they can achieve, and they do amazing things. We've had people, you know, quadruple their studios and all sorts. So it's been really fun, and we wanted to kind of bring that to a broader community, which is why we started the Piano Pivot. The way it's designed is it's 5 main days. Today is a pre-launch day, and it is pretty important still, but it's not part of the main actionable steps. And this is going to set you up for all the goals that you can achieve in the first quarter of 2018. So we're getting ahead of the game, and we know what we're going to do for the first quarter, the first 3 months of 2018, which is going to get you off to just an amazing start. So that's why we set it up. But I would love to know in the comments if you can share with us, why are you here? So why did you join the Piano Pivot? What was it that inspired you? Was it one of the things I've been talking about? Was it something else about what we've been chatting about that has inspired you to join in? And also, Tim has a couple of comments that he's already received from people about why they are so excited about this challenge, almost as excited as we are. So I'll hand over to Tim because he's going to read those to us.
Yeah, well, look, we've been getting lots of great feedback from people on my page, by email, all sorts of different things. And I just wanted to mention a few because I think they'll resonate with people. So it'll be great to see as the comments come up what people are thinking with regard to this. But Lynette says, love all the ideas, want to teach more creatively, get so excited by new ideas, download everything and put it in my filing tray, which is where it all seems to stay. Enthusiastic, but not managing myself too well. So need this to help me consolidate things and prioritize. And I thought that really hit the nail on the head. And that's why the planning stage is so important, because we can set goals and we can just go, okay, that's the direction we're taking, forget the rest. That we just need one thing to do, yeah. And I thought Sharon's comment was really honest. She was saying, "Look, I'm a pretty good teacher, and what I'm doing mostly is really working well. But if I'm really honest with myself, I realize that I have a few students I'm just not really connecting with, and they're not really progressing very well. There's something I still need to learn to help me help them. So how can I not make time for this healthy introspection and looking ahead?" So she said she'd make this a priority, and it's always fun to hang out with Nicola and Tim. How nice was that? So looking forward, Sharon, to helping you as well, and others. I'll have a look at the comments as you continue, Nicola, and we'll see what people are saying.
Yeah, lovely comments from Sharon, and I love how honest she was. I think that's the same Sharon that I actually met. She came to Dublin, she was visiting. So
right.
Hi Sharon, if you're watching. It's great to have you here and be connecting online after seeing each other in person. So yeah, I'd love to see why other people are joining in and what they're hoping to get out of it. I hope that we're going to be able to help everyone with that. What today is about is actually less actionable and more head in the clouds kind of stuff. So today we're going to be dreaming big, and we're going to be doing some blue sky thinking, basically. And the reason we added this day as a pre-launch is because we designed these 5 really actionable, specific days. But if you don't know where you're going, if you don't have an end goal in mind, then you can just kind of plod along and do what you're supposed to do, or what you think you should be doing, and then you get there and it's not what you wanted at all. So we want to take this day to just get you to make some big aspirational ideas about what you want your studio to look like, or your teaching or business or your life more generally, that aren't so realistic and practical and specific, but are more just dreaming big, like we say. I started doing this, making these kind of, thinking forward to where I wanted to be type of goals about 2 years ago myself for my studio, and it's been so good. I started doing this after I read The Savvy Music Teacher by David Cutler, wonderful book that I know
Great
Tim
book.
loves as well.
Yeah.
And inspired by that, I started setting, income goals for how much I wanted to make in my studio. And then that sort of snowballed into how many students that was and what I wanted it to look like. And I do this probably twice a year now. And it just means that I know where I'm actually going, where I'm heading, and where I want to be. Because that really is different for everyone. And otherwise, like I say, it's really easy to just go ahead and do whatever it is that you think a piano teacher would want to do. Like, you could end up running a commercial space studio when actually you would have loved to work from home if you really thought about it at the start. So that's what we're trying to get you to do today. I would love to know as well in the comments if this is something you've ever done. Is this a new idea to you? Is this something you've done? And if you have done it in some way, shape or form, what have you found the benefit has been? Has it given you clarity moving forward?
I've got to say, I'll just jump in for a sec, Nicola, because Christine from Dublin says, I'm answerable and accountable to no one but myself for setting goals. So I need a bigger picture for myself and my studio in order to not plod along, which is exactly what you were just saying. It's really easy. There's one of two things will happen. Either we'll just keep on doing the same thing and not really think about it, or we'll be going in completely the wrong direction to where we really want to go.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know the destination, how are you even driving on the road? It doesn't make any sense. So
that's right.
In the playbook, what you'll find for today, it's a little bit different to the other days if you flip through. This is what it kind of looks like. You'll kind of see that on my screen. But it's really just a few questions. There's only a few there. And they're just to prompt you starting the thinking process. I don't really specifically want you to answer just those questions. It's not about that, and it's not about what I think you should plan for either. It's about the things that are important to you. So I wanted to give you an idea of some of the questions you might like to ask yourself, and some that I think are essential. So this is part of your homework. This is the important homework for today. I want you to think about some of these different questions, what the answers would be if you just put everything out of your head, all the silly barriers, or even the very significant ones. So bar riding to work on a unicorn, anything else goes, just let yourself dream big for today, and we'll get to the down to brass tacks tomorrow. So I want you to think about, firstly, where do you want to teach? Do you want to teach at home, or do you want to teach in a commercial space, or would you like to be in a music store? Would you like to be in a music school working for someone else? That's a perfectly valid goal to have as well. Personally, I do not want a commercial space. I like working from home. The only thing I wish I had was a separate studio space to my living room. So that would be in my dream studio, but I don't want it to go outside the home. Now, maybe you would love that work-life separation. So if you would, put that down there. The next thing I want you to think about is the number of students you want to have. So don't just go as big as possible. I see teachers all the time with saying, oh, I have 100 students in a week. And I'm like, why? I mean, that just sounds terrible. Maybe it's wonderful for you. Maybe you'd love that. Maybe you want as many students as possible. Or maybe you want to teach in groups, so that's a different story. But if you don't just aim for more and more students and filling every single hour of the day, because it won't make you happy if you don't have time to relax. So think about the ideal number of students in your week. And similarly, think about the hours per week that you want to be teaching. Do you want 20 hours per week of actual teaching time? We know that's not the end of your business, right? That's not all you're doing, but of actual teaching time, how many hours per week do you want? And how many weeks of the year would you like to be teaching? Do you wish that you could teach, 48 weeks of the year? Do you wish it was more like a regular job? Or do you want to have 12 weeks off a year? Or 20? I don't know. Whatever it is for you, whatever's the ideal number, maybe you want to match the school schedule so that you can be off when your kids are off. That could be a great goal to have. Once you have these things thought through, I want you to think about what the format is that you want to teach in. That will largely affect the other goals as well. Do you want to teach in groups, or do you want to teach individual, one-on-one? Do you want to do partner lessons or buddy overlapping lessons? That's what I do for the most part. Do you want to do a mix? Do you want to have students come for individual lessons and group lessons? What would be the ideal circumstance of actual lesson formats? Again, putting aside whether parents are going to pay for that or value that or whatever, just for today, think about what you would love to do. What would you see the value in? And also, what hours of the day would you like to be teaching? I know this is a big one, especially for parents, or maybe just for, early bird type of people. But if you do have kids in school, this can be a really big one, because they come home from school and then you're immediately teaching because you teach in after school hours. And that sounds really tough to me. I'm sure it is. So it's one of your goals to move back the hours to earlier in the day. It could be, maybe you want to teach from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Don't think about how it's going to happen. Just think about what the ideal hours would be, because then you can gradually get there. But if you don't know what they are, or you don't write them down to hold yourself accountable to them or admit them to yourself, then you're never going to get there.
And remember too, that one of the key things about a brainstorm is that you don't question it yet.
Yeah.
Just brainstorm the ideas. If you want to teach lessons on the moon, that's great. It's a brainstorm. That could go down. Whether that's going to happen, I'm not sure. But with the brainstorm, don't question the things that you're writing, like, oh, I could never do that, or this isn't going to work. Just write it down anyway. That's the point of a brainstorm, okay?
Exactly. And the last question I have for you to consider, and I know this is the scary one that you might not want to answer, so I really want to encourage you to answer this one. How much do you want to make? Like, write down an actual income goal. And yeah, don't go crazy and mad with it, obviously. But most teachers won't, because they didn't get into this profession to make a whole ton of heap of money. That's not why we're teaching. So write down a number that you would feel comfortable at, that would mean that you don't worry about money, and that you can give yourself little treats, whatever that means to you. Maybe it's that you don't have to stop yourself from, buying a new nice pair of boots that you like, that you saw, or maybe you love skiing and you wish you could go on one skiing holiday per year or something. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's about what would be comfortable for where you live, because that'll have a huge effect on this. It's a lot more expensive to live in some places than in others. So take that into consideration and think about, if I made this figure, I would feel comfortable with my salary and I wouldn't worry about money. That's the figure I want you to write down. And I really want people to do this, whether they share it with us or not, that's absolutely fine. But if some of these questions make you nervous, I totally get that. And they're probably the ones that you should answer, I think. If there's some that kind of feel a bit like, oh, I don't know if I should, I think you should probably answer those ones first, because they're the most important, the ones that you almost don't want to even touch. And I'd love to know which one that is for you. So if you write in the comments, like, which of those questions, when I got to it, did you go, I can't write that down. It'll be silly. Is there one that would have made you nervous, Tim?
I find it hard with the number of hours to work a week, because I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I really enjoy what I do, and so I find it really hard to switch off. So actually thinking, well, how many hours would I like to work? I mean, I would love to not work on weekends, for example. I think that's a great goal that other people might share as well. And I know, sorry?
What you're doing right now.
Yeah, what I'm doing right now. I know a number of people, they're working on Saturdays and would really love not to, and things like that. So the number of hours one, that can be a tricky one. I was going to add a few things too. While you might have a chance to look at the comments. We've got lots of amazing comments coming in too, Nicola, which is great. So we'll go through a few of those in just a moment. Don't feel you've got to fill in the clouds as well. There's heaps of space on that sheet. Or get another sheet. Like, it really doesn't matter.
Get a blank sheet. Yeah.
It's just a pointer, I guess, to get you started. And one other thing that I wanted to mention too, and I saw that Sharon, g'day Sharon, good to see you here. Sharon says, I'd really like to have a reliable second income stream besides having students. Now, this is a big one, and so I would love for you to think outside music teaching, if that's of interest to you, or outside, lessons, piano lessons, could you actually create something for students that you could sell online? Or could you become someone that gives workshops and live events? Or could you do big recitals and run them as a service for other music teachers. I know in the Inner Circle at the moment, we've got a number of members who are getting to that stage with their career that they're actually really happy with their group. They've got group teaching, they've got a number of students, they've got a good income, and they're, like Sharon, are going, well, what could I do next? What else could I do? And so what I would suggest is for this brainstorm, don't necessarily feel constrained by this needs to be about music teaching. It could be that actually you really want to give webinars like we're doing or something like that. So think about those too. So thanks, Sharon, for bringing that one up.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just about your studio, it's about your life, because really your studio is your life, your business is, in a big way. So yeah, whether it's you want to have a certain number of hours off per week or you want to have diversified income, like Tim is saying, whatever it is that it jumps out to you as being important, like if I could design this from scratch, this is what I would do. I think that's fantastic. There was
I've got a few people
there
interested in online teaching too. So Ruthie, hello Ruthie, one of my members as well. I want to see if I can move forward with an online format. And Chris Owenby said the same thing. Love to do online group lessons. And that's an interesting one. So Bradley Sowash, who's a good friend of mine, he's moved to an online group teaching format, which is working really well. So that's a great idea as well. Sorry, Nicola, I interrupted you.
No, not at all. There was a comment there and I've lost it. But yeah, a comment from Ruthie is interesting. And also, yeah, Joe saying he wants to teach more homeschoolers to work during the day. So yeah, set those ideal hours. Are they, because you'll find a way to fill them. I mean, you might not, but likely if you set them, you will find a way to fill this in. I definitely think that.
There are such great comments coming through. Sorry, guys,
yeah.
we're trying to keep track of all the great comments. Tanya says, been teaching for 41 years, but an old dog can learn new tricks. Lol. Good on you, Tanya. Joe's reestablishing his piano studio in a new location, so you know that's great. You've got a blank slate, Joe, in many ways. Yeah. To start creating things. How do you want it to look? What kind of lessons do you want? How many students? And I know we've been talking about that a little bit online in the membership, which is cool.
And designing that from scratch is such an exciting opportunity, especially with stuff like lesson formats. Like you get a lot of questions with teachers who want to move to group or some other lesson format and they need to try and transition their students. It's so much easier if you can start from the beginning. So he's got a great opportunity to decide this is what I want and set himself up as that. But you can transition as well if that's what's necessary. There was a comment from someone as well that I've lost now, but saying that she spends so much on the music, so it's hard for her to decide how much she should be making. I want you to decide your income minus expenses. So just to make that clear, just ignore the expenses. That's a separate issue, how much you're spending, because that's coming out of your gross income, not your actual income. Yeah?
Okay, so where it says, how much would you like to make, you're talking about profit, clear money in your pocket after you've paid expenses.
Yeah, even after tax, if you want to do it that way, or before tax, whatever way makes sense to you. But ignore the expenses because that's really a separate thing, and cutting them down or whatever, and taking them into consideration when you set your fees, which we'll do on day 5.
Yeah. So. Yep, that's it. Belinda, good to see you on online as well. Teaching after schools when students available, but it means less time with my kids. It's a tough one. Joey Lieber, nice to see you on here, Mr. Jazz Extraordinaire. My goal is to learn to teach more classical music.
Oh, wow.
That's very cool. Good on you. Cool. Don't often hear that. That's great. Catherine wants to buy a grand piano. Jolene's saving to buy a new car. This is just, it's great. I mean, people are thinking outside the box now. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Linda says it is hard to define work. My brain is always working. Mine too, Linda. I know what you mean.
Yeah, you're talking to two people who I think are kind of the definition of workaholics, so we won't pretend to know about that.
But we love it, so it's all good.
Yeah, no, I like your work.
Did you see the comment from April, Nicola? I have my dream space already. I don't want too many students. 16 is probably my limit.
Yeah.
I have an 8-year-old daughter to give attention to. I'm actually trying out preschool piano lessons this year with 2 students, and it's going great. I need to learn how to connect with teen beginners, though. So lots of resources to share on teen beginners. But I thought the preschool idea, if that's an age that you're interested in teaching, then that could be a daytime thing potentially. The mums come along or dads and sit with their kids and.
Yeah, I mean, even up until 6 years old, it depends on where you are, but here, certainly they finish school earlier, so it can just bring your hours back down just a little bit. You know, they'll finish at noon here instead of 2:30 or whatever. So, yeah, teaching younger demographics is a great way to move those hours back down.
Good question from Anne. Has anyone ever has anyone ever gone into senior homes to teach? Keeping older people focused helps arthritis, helps with memory. Nice idea. I not personally. I've played in older people's homes, but I haven't thought of teaching there. Could be an option. Good. Keep these ideas coming, guys. It's so great to read all this.
Yeah, it's awesome. Maggie says she'd love to be retired, but she loves her teaching job too much. So is your goal to be retired or to never have to retire? Who knows?
Yeah, these are just such great ideas. This is exactly what we wanted this opportunity to be. And look, we'll be wrapping up pretty soon. We're trying to keep these to around the 30-minute mark, although some might be a fraction longer. This isn't really enough time to get everything sorted. And in fact, this week isn't either. And so as Nicola said at the start, what we're trying to do is set you up in a way that over the course of the Christmas, New Year kind of period, when you might be able to just sneak away from the family for a day or an hour, whatever it is, that you could then put these things in place. So that's why we've decided to do this at this time of the year when we know, unfortunately, everyone is very busy. But it just means you've got the knowledge that you need to organise things when you have that chance. And hopefully the Christmas period coming up, particularly for Australians, I mean, we've all got January pretty much free. So if you don't get enough time now to do this, then January is your no excuses, Australians. You've got a big long holiday. And New Zealanders, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Valerie said she goes to a retirement centre to teach. Sorry, Nicola, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
As you were saying as well in the video we did a while back, I think, leaving these things in the back of your head is so important as well. So even if you're not going to get that hour to set aside over the Christmas break, even if your family just goes mad and takes over all of your time for that whole break, that's absolutely fine. But even thinking about these things now and just letting them sit at the back of your head over that break and sort of, mulling on them and letting them stew a little bit, it makes such a difference when you come back to this in January. You're going to have so much more momentum and focus and clarity around it just from doing this now, even if you don't get the chance to look at it. But I would like to encourage people to set aside some time today or tomorrow to get this sort of brainstorm done so that you have something to look back on. Really write it down. Actually write these things down so that you can look back over them.
I'm laughing because Belinda says January is a holiday here. Someone tell my kids. Oh, sorry, Belinda, I totally forgot. Yes, those of you with young kids are going to be busy during the holidays. So hopefully, all your family is going to get really sick of you carrying this workbook around, because this is going to be hopefully in your pocket or on your phone or iPad in the next little while, so that you can quickly, or just use your notes or whatever it is, because as Nicola says, I find that the weirdest times things will come to my head, a new little business idea or teaching strategy. I might be riding my bike or walking or driving somewhere and bang, suddenly it comes into my head. So write it down.
Yes, definitely. It's just, that's when the best ideas come to you, when you've stopped thinking about them. So if you write down what this goal is, it might suddenly come to you over the break or when you revisit it, how you're actually going to get there. So like I say, no stopping yourself or censoring yourself at the moment. Just write it down. It's really great.
Mary Kay has said, re-establishing in a new state after 20 years. I want to grow to 40 to 50 students. I teach private and group, ages 4 to adult. I'm looking to retire from being a church choir director within 2 years after 40 years of accompanying. Good on you, Mary, and directing to have weekends free. What a fantastic goal. I think it's so important.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm interested in pursuing other income streams. So we're definitely going to be talking about that, I think, day 5 from memory, when we're talking business.
Yeah.
We'll be going into lots of the alternate business diversification kind of ideas. So that's going to be great for lots of you guys.
Fantastic. The comments are going to keep rolling in, and I do want people to write in their dream studios in the comments, because I'd love to read them all when we're done. We did want to also just give you an idea of what's coming up tomorrow. Tim, did you want to let them know what we're doing tomorrow, what it's all about?
Absolutely. So tomorrow it's so important that we take stock of ourselves and work on ourselves before we try and give everything that we've got to our students. And I think a lot of us are so dedicated to our students that we forget about ourselves sometimes. And so what I'm really talking about and what we're going to be diving into tomorrow is 3 aspects of you, and that is your diet and health, your work-life balance, and your fitness, and those 3 areas, because they are just crucial. We can't expect to achieve some of these amazing goals that you guys are putting here if we're not in the best health that we could possibly be. So, and it doesn't matter where you are at the moment, because it's really easy to get started. If you're not in such good health, then there are ways to work at that and start walking or whatever it is. So we're going to set some goals about that. But before we do that, we're actually going to take our metrics. So we're going to talk about, and we're actually going to use the worksheet for tomorrow, which is this one here, and we're actually going to work out where we're at. How much sleep are we getting? How much water are we drinking? Are we drinking too much coffee or alcohol? Are there things that we can improve about our health, even if it's really simple, that's going to make a big difference in our teaching?
Yeah, and we're going to make a step-by-step plan to get there, so it's not so overwhelming as well, which I'm really excited about. There were some comments before about when they were talking about their dreams, about how difficult it is to not put your students before everything else. So I think this is going to be really useful for you if that was one of your things about the Blue Sky Brainstorm, is being able to put yourself a little bit before others sometimes, because you can't just put your students above you, because if you don't look after yourself, I mean, who's going to? So I'm really excited to help people set some goals that are really attainable and practical and achievable, like we've been doing in the Inner Circle with people's health goals there.
Yep, absolutely. Joanne Snowden, great to see you on the call. That's a name I know really, really well. My dream studio will be in what is currently our cellar storeroom. Large room, own entrance, toilet just off it, big enough for a grand piano, desk, shelving, table, waiting area. All I need is about £20,000 to develop it. Well, Joanne, let's see if we can get you a plan to make some, make some money to build it. Look, it's all doable. I'm really glad you've written it down. It may sound unachievable, but there are ways. So
that's not crazy.
It's great.
It could happen.
Natasha says never too much coffee. Yeah, maybe that's okay.
There's some things you don't want to tackle. We won't make you.
In fact, Linda has responded to Joanne, and Linda has been has had an amazing success this year in being able to fundraise for her local community and getting a grand piano in their hall. So Linda knows all about fundraising. Of course, Joanne, I'm not sure you could fundraise for your private cellar studio, but there's ways to do it. And Linda says just start with the basics, and we can get there. No one mentioned our own practicing too, Lorraine. Good point. Yes. Oh yeah,
I was going to mention that tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's part of the focusing on you bit. Absolutely.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic, Nicola. Shall we start wrapping things up for today? Because we want to keep them relatively short and punchy.
Yeah, we want to make them rewatchable. So, yeah, absolutely.
And look, I've got to say, 82 people live on the call right now. That's an absolute record where I'm really, really excited that we've got so many people engaged. As I say, over 600 have signed up, so there'll be many more who are watching the replay. Now, if you're watching the replay in the community, please, even though we're not here to talk about your comments, please write them down. Yeah. It'll be great to read them. Nicola and I will be going through them each day and giving some opinions and help if we possibly can too. And I had one suggestion, Nicola. I don't know what you think about this. Put it out there. How would you guys feel on the call taking a photo of your Blue Sky Brainstorm, maybe when you're finished, if you're happy to share it, and posting it in the group?
Yeah,
this video.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. If you're happy to share it, then feel free. If it's a scribbly mess, totally fine. That's what brainstorms are all about. But if you wanted to share it, just take a picture and stick it in the comments for this video. That would be great to see some people's actual completed brainstorms.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And like like Tim said, we'll be hanging out and still interacting. So if you're watching the replay, still do it because we'll still be around to chat about it.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up. Great to see people saying, yeah, photo idea. That's good. Who was that? Sharon. You're onto it, Sharon. Thank you. And good to know that we fitted into a 30-minute lunch break for Mallory. Perfect. Love to hear that it's working. And the tech's actually working. Go internet in Australia for once.
Yes. We found something that worked. And the time zone balancing seems to have gone well. 80-something people live, so that's good. I'm glad we managed to fit in with at least some parts of the world.
Absolutely, yeah. So same time, same place tomorrow. We'll be going through that the 3 key areas of you, that health section, and it's so important. So look forward to seeing you then, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.